Bitcoin bulls and bears in a crazy tug of war right now. Cardano on the weekly chart. The momentum oscillators look like they're getting ready to explode. Let's dive into the video. We'll start with Bitcoin. We'll pivot to Cardano. So please hit the subscribe, hit the like on the way in, and let's just talk about a couple things going on the Bitcoin chart. This is Bitcoin on the weekly, just as a quick overview, just to set the tone for where we are in the macro. Many of you know we're kind of revisiting the upper end of this Fibonacci bull market door area. A very similar thing happened in previous cycles, but more notably on the weekly, and then I'll pivot to the tug of war that's happening on the zoomed in on the daily. This oscillator, the RSI on the Bitcoin chart, for me, just here's why it looks really good. And right now you can just see it's cooled down out of overbought. There's two reasons, and I talk about it often. Right now we're around 54, but first reason is we've been doing a lot of comparing to the cycle back here 2 cycles ago. So Bitcoin really just consolidating in a very similar area to a very similar area as it did back then, right? So we have a cycle, a crazy cycle, where Bitcoin kind of reset to this general mid-range area on the RSI after the Bitcoin halving. And right now, this is the first time Bitcoin is kind of resetting to this area after this Bitcoin halving. So we know from historical data that there can be so much in store for Bitcoin on this weekly chart. Now, the other thing that I'm very excited about when it comes to the RSI is the very fact that as far as this cycle goes, and I mean from this Bitcoin halving right here forward, Bitcoin has not even once been overbought on the RSI. And I know I've mentioned that before. I'm not trying to repeat myself, but I know there will be new viewers. And I just want to really just get that data out there as we start zooming in, because there's going to be a lot of volatility on this chart. This is the daily zoomed in one way or another. So setting the tone on the weekly is important to me, just day in and day out. Now, if we look at the daily chart, let's talk about the tug of war. The tug of war, there's a lot going on here. Let's first take our inverse head and shoulders that we're tracking. And this is fun, the very fact that it's still in play. There's our left shoulder, here's our head, here's our kind of right shoulder set up. The right shoulder is still not formed, so this isn't a confirmed inverse head and shoulders, but here's our right shoulder trying to form right now. It might not. We might fail. The bears might win. Bitcoin goes lower and breaks support. But here's the right shoulder setup. We need this move to the upside to play out right back to the neckline around $72,000 so that we have that $90,000 target to the upside. So the tug of war is taking place at this area that we've been talking about. And this isn't the first time I've talked about this. It's the head, the swing low, to the swing high to the neckline. And we're at this Fibonacci retracement. Now, here's where things are getting a little interesting. At the very least, I think last time I did the video, we were just within this range, right? We've at least broken out of that range to the upside. Now, here is the tug of war. It's not just this range, right? The bears and bulls tug of war in that area. And that's what a head, that's really what's happening in a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. Meaning in a left shoulder setup, the bears are stepping in, the bulls step back in the tug of war to the neckline. The bears step in even stronger in the tug of war to form the head. The bulls step in again to the neckline. They fail to break the neckline. The bears step in one last shot. And that's where we are right now. And right now you see them holding on. Right at this Fibonacci area, this support area. This is a higher low support from the head swing low. And right now Bitcoin escaped that area. But on an even deeper level, the tug of war is taking place. Look at this resistance at the 20-day moving average. That is the area. And the 50-day, these two areas are the areas we want to see Bitcoin break. 66,400 is the 50-day moving average, and the 20 days around 65 or 63,600 right here, just above where Bitcoin is right now. Bitcoin failed at that 20-day right there. If we just zoom in and look at this, right? See that 20-day in green, Bitcoin wicked up, failed, and right now falling actually back into the Fibonacci. So this is the first challenge on the short term for Bitcoin. But what we're looking for a bullish confirmation would be Bitcoin to make an explosive move to the upside. So on the very short term, we'd be looking for some type of higher low here, and then a bounce to the upside, flip above this 20-day moving average, close some daily candles above the 20-day, and then eventually close above the 50-day around 66,500 or so. This is where we can start getting some real hopium going. that there's going to be a right shoulder setup. But before that even happens, Bitcoin has to see the support here, and we have to break these moving averages. Otherwise, we see downtrends all the time where Bitcoin just kind of makes a move to the moving averages and fails, and then goes lower and then fails again. And it's lower highs, lower lows, right? That's in play still. So that's what I'm waiting for in the Bitcoin chart. And I think that will really determine a lot what happens across the crypto space. One thing that I do know is when we start looking at altcoin markets, they truly seem like they are ready to make a move to the upside. We're going to use Cardano in this video. We're going to really dissect Cardano a little bit. But before we even talk about the weekly momentum oscillators that really do look like they're going to explode, I want to point something out on the daily. And this is where altcoins come into play. They're looking like they're ready to go. And Cardano is one example, has actually a really good example on the daily chart. So here's what's happening on Cardano. Here's Cardano zoomed out on the daily. Here's our bottom back here, kind of bear market bottom, and then we kind of made this explosive move to the upside. We're looking for something similar. Get the consolidation, reset. This is months worth of consolidation. This is going back to March. Get the reset. We're looking for the next explosive move to the upside. Same with Bitcoin, same with any chart. When we're trying to flip a daily momentum to the upside, a reversal, we need these moving averages to be broken. So right now, the 20-day moving average has been broken on the current daily chart for Cardano, which is good. The 50-day moving average, is it going to pose an issue? It's around 43 cents. I want to see if ADA can test that in the short term. But if we open up the daily oscillator, I want to just show you something. And this could be a little bit of hopium for Cardano holders. One thing that you see is this swing low back here to the swing low here on this RSI, a little bit of a higher low, all the while ADA on this chart getting a lower low. So we have a little bit of bullish divergence potentially marking this bottom for ADA. And we saw a very similar type of formation that came into play back here. Swing low to swing low, right? So kind of a lower low on price, it looks like. And then we have the swing low to swing low here, higher low on the momentum oscillator. It took some time, but that was truly ADA bottoming out for the next move, right? So is this ADA bottoming out for the next move? Maybe ADA actually needs to go lower, right? And continue this bullish divergence. RSI comes down a little bit more. ADA actually falls into lower 30s, people freaking out. That might happen. But what I want to really show you and talk about on the ADA chart is the weekly. One thing that I've talked about pretty recently, I think, is the stock RSI, quicker moving momentum oscillator on Cardano. Just oversold. It's been oversold since it entered oversold in April. And now we're on July, and it's been hanging out down here for a while. And one thing I talked about is basically every time ADA has been in that environment on the stock RSI, even in a bear market, it's gotten some type of meaningful move, at the very least, to the 20-week moving average. That's currently around 51 cents. So even in the short to midterm, I think there could be a move for ADA, a power move to the upside. But where we are in the cycle, if we start seeing ADA break above the 20-week moving average and start closing weekly candles above, that could be a very strong macro bullish confirmation, one that we wait basically 4 years for when it comes to altcoins. So that's in play, but the stock RSI looking really nice in that regard because it's been oversold for so long, and every time it's been this oversold for so long, there's a move to the upside. Not a guarantee it will happen, but that's what's in play. And then we look at the RSI. RSI right now just completely reset from overbought back here in late 2023. So much room to the upside on this slower moving momentum oscillator. And if you just glance, right? Let's open up the chart and just glance at this for a moment. Right here is where we are in the RSI. We were at a very similar area, kind of around COVID actually. Just bouncing out of that, and look at the upside potential on this weekly chart for ADA from that moment. Look at that. We are in the same exact type of area on the RSI. What could be happening, or what could be getting ready to happen with this ADA chart, could absolutely shock everybody. Just exactly like what happened last cycle. There are a lot of Cardano haters, which is fine. But this is kind of the story of ADA. People think it's doing nothing, and then it does something, and it makes headlines. And the charts, the technicals are kind of setting up for that. The other meaningful thing on the oscillators that play into this is the very fact that when it comes to the MACD, this oscillator here, look at the MACD histogram here, just kind of for quite some time since April, and it's slowly just making its way back to the upside. You see this lighter color pivoting. This is exactly what we want to see on any MACDs, right? It's kind of, it goes from dark to light, and then we're approaching 0 on the histogram. And that's for especially a cycle reversal or a cycle bull market entry. This is exactly what we want to see. And right now, post Bitcoin halving, this is the time for it. Here's last time post Bitcoin halving. MACD not as strong to the downside, but it needed that pivot to explode into the ADA bull run. Right now, does it need this pivot to explode into the ADA bull run? It's setting up. The oscillators, the momentum on Cardano on the macro is insane. I say time and time again, that does not mean there's a guarantee that this chart plays out, that we head towards all-time highs now. But doing these videos for almost 7 years on this YouTube channel, one thing I know is pay attention to historical data and context on these charts. It has helped me so much, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm prepared for anything. I'm prepared for it all to go to 0, but I'm also prepared for a parabolic bull run. So that's the ADA chart. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, everybody. Hope you're doing well out there. Please hit the subscribe, turn notifications on. We're just getting started, I think, when it comes to this altcoin season. So I'll see you in the next video. God bless.